One. Hi everybody, I'm Marcia McCarrow.
Hello everyone, I'm Carol Cooper.
And we're going to be discussing today, doing a summary video this time round of the interviews that we've done, 6 to 10 in the series Just Take a Minute. And so the interviews that we're going to be covering and discussing will be Douglas Fermie, who's the director of Baldersons Limited, which is an insurance broker based in Sheffield. Dawn Cummins, who is the author of Message of Love. Diana Ali, who's a visual artist, curator and mentor. And Diana is one of the mentors on the BBC Big Painting Challenge programme. Yeah. And then Paul Jillins, who is an entrepreneur and a network marketeer. And then Denise Raynor, who calls herself an entrepreneurial coach. So again, 5 videos, all with a very different feel because they're all coming from very different backgrounds, but nevertheless, all very interesting videos. So if we start with Douglas, have a look at Douglas's interview. In terms of what we liked about it and what we gained from it, do you want to start, Cece, or?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. The first question for me is always a good question to broadly as well, was is there a motto that you live your life by? And I always like that because I know you and I do, and it just reminded me that you do, and that's where you're on that moral level, and the self-respect and all that sort of thing around that. So you've always got something that you live your life by, and one of my main mottos would be just always try your best to be kind, understanding, and a new bit of the motto is try and listen more.
That's coming out of the interviews, the messages from interviews 1 to 5, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly is, because that really it makes you think, and even though you've been doing this sort of thing a long time and working with lots of people, you need a little reminder about that.
Yeah, it was lovely to interview Douglas because of his career and what he's done in his career. I found it really interesting having that conversation with him, and he's very dry but very funny. So some of the questions that we asked him made me chuckle. Yes. One of them in particular was around his greatest possession.
Yeah.
And he said his wife, but then he was joking. Oh, clearly he was joking, which, your wife is not your possession. But, that was quite funny. It was a bit tongue-in-cheek, wasn't it, that one there?
Yeah.
But the fact that he's had that Lifetime Achievement Award as well, and he was very humble about it too. He's someone that's very much like us. He's into teaching and educating, therefore likes to share what he's learning with people. He's taught at the university as well, hasn't he? I can't remember which university it was he was teaching at now, but
I think it was Hallam. I think it was Hallam University in Sheffield.
Sheffield Hallam.
Sheffield, yeah. I think it was Sheffield Hallam, yeah.
So I found that really interesting about his journey. What was for me was really interesting about this one was when he talked about not meeting his dad.
Yes, yeah, that was a very unhappy time because he'd spent time doing that, and obviously I know Douglas and know of the journey, and it was just a short period of time that he'd missed his dad.
Yeah.
And his dad wasn't that too far, about an hour and a half down the motorway from here.
So never getting a chance to meet him.
Never had a chance to meet him. And yes, I hesitated a lot in not going into conversation the last time we mentioned Douglas, but obviously I was there, at the time it was happening. So yes, it was very, very sad. But he did meet the family. He did.
Yeah. It's, and I suppose it's about the fact that we all have backstories, don't we?
We do. We have lots of those.
You see people that are doing well, and you forget sometimes, or there's a tendency to forget that they have a backstory. And that backstory is part of the reason why they are where they are today, probably.
Who they are, yeah, the type of person they've turned out to be.
Yeah, that pushes them. Sometimes it can be a motivator for us, and can't it, and push us forward. Some of the messages that came out of Douglas's interview were really good. Work with your values.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
and the future depends on what you do now. Was another very good one, which yes, people need to take a step back and think about that, because it isn't about what others are doing, it's what we're all doing.
Yeah. And he does talk about, you know, as part of your journey, not forgetting to be a sponge for knowledge.
Yeah.
And soaking it all up and using that knowledge to your best, really. We're going to do another video where we look at some of the messages, so I don't want to go into that in too much detail, but I did find him so witty in what he says, in that dry sort of way. So he did make me chuckle, and I like to have a good chuckle when I'm interviewing people.
Absolutely,
you know, I'm enjoying it, and I'm in the flow of it. Yeah. So that was Douglas.
Yeah.
And then we interviewed Dawn Cummins, Message of Love. Now, we've read Dawn's book, and is part of the reason why I wanted to particularly interview her, because I read her book the first time round, and then had to go back and read it again, just to make sure I was understanding the messages. And some of the book I didn't get, but there was some parts of it that were extremely powerful for me, and maybe because of the place I was in at the time, they resonated with me quite deeply. And she's got a chapter on power, and I think I talked about that in her interview. This was the one for me that was quite significant in getting me to understand more about me, and joining up some of the dots for me, really. I really enjoyed that.
It was a powerful interview. I can nearly remember the emotion, really, when we were talking it through.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that we did take away, or I know we did, was learn as much from something which has gone wrong.
Yeah.
I think too many of us beat ourselves up about getting it wrong. I think when you're very young, you will always do it because of life. You haven't had life's experiences, but when you have had life's experiences, it is about sitting back and thinking, right, okay, I did that wrong, and or not the way I wanted to do it, or others wanted me to do it, but to learn from that, you know, it's immense. And I think that it takes a very big person to, swallow your pride, I suppose, really. That's what you're doing, isn't it? To say, well, I didn't get that right, but I did learn, and next time I won't be doing it, you know. So that was quite powerful.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about the emotion in this one, it does bring it all back to me when we were sat there, because there were a few times when Dawn was, as she was explaining things, she was quite emotional, which made us in return, return, think about that emotion and get, get into the topic in a different way. We talked about all sorts of things which were quite emotive, weren't they? Like faith and spirituality and religion, and the difference between the three, and can they all exist at the same time, or do we click from one to the other? So we had lots of really meaningful discussion and conversation in this one, and I just don't think the interview was long enough for what we needed to discuss with Dawn. Maybe it's an opportunity for us to go back and maybe explore some of the key areas
Yeah.
as we see them again.
Well, she talked, about, being inspired, because great changes then are possible. Because if you're not inspired, you're not going to push that and drive yourself forward, are you? So, all of that, and do it for yourself.
Yes.
I just love that message. Do it for yourself. Don't always do it for other people. If other people are right and they give you the best advice they can, that's quite different.
Yeah.
But if you feel something in your heart is right, which is how we work, really, isn't it?
It is. It was a really good interview. And often how many books do we have on our shelves where we read the book, we enjoy the book, we don't, often get the opportunity to sit with the author and talk about what we've got from the book in that way. So it was a real privilege for me to be able to do that, and for her to want to do that with us.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, another great interview that's out there. Diana Ali. This was probably one of my favourite interviews so far, because we've known Diana for a very long time, and we've watched her journey, really, and she's been involved with some of the stuff that we've done in terms of DYBC. So this was great, to have that opportunity to have a conversation with Diana about all sorts of things that had happened in her life over the years, and put it in the context of her passion, which is art.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Really enjoyed talking to her.
I thought
lots of messages.
Heaps of messages there, and just a lot of clarity in her compassion. Don't know if that's describing it the way it is, but when you were listening to her, and I think I lost my way on my questions because I was that.
That's normally my trick, isn't it?
What's going on there, but it was just really, just a really good interview, and she obviously to take it to a work level and enjoy what she does there. It's just absolutely fantastic. And as she says, do it for yourself.
Yeah. The part of the interview that I think struck me the most was when she said she was sat on the beach after she'd been robbed. She'd gone to I can't remember what country she'd gone to curate some artwork, and she got robbed, and she was sat there. She'd got only a few of her belongings left, and she'd got no money, and she got out a book, as you do when you've just been robbed. Got out a book. She was sat reading a book.
Yeah.
And then she said those words around, without loss, we don't have lucidity.
Yes. Yeah, that was wonderful.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. And when you don't think of that yourself, but when somebody said that to you or says that to you, you think, gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
It is right.
Yeah.
She must have been traumatized.
Yeah.
After that happening.
But out of that trauma came the clarity that you were just talking about earlier. It enables us, doesn't it, to think of what the choices are that we have, and then based on those choices make more effective decisions that are right for us. So, be inspired by your problems was another thing that she said. But the key one for me was, without loss, we don't have lucidity. And she's such a bundle of joy, isn't she?
She absolutely is. She's so right for the role.
Yes.
She's so right. She fits in like a piece of jigsaw, isn't she? She's great. Absolutely.
I would encourage anybody who hasn't seen the interview with Diana Ali to, click onto it and have a look. Absolutely. Get a cup of decaf coffee or decaf tea.
Not the real stuff.
No, decaf. And sit down and watch it for yourself, and look at the messages that come out of that interview for you. There were so many of them. We can't go through them all today.
We can't. One I'd like to mention to the person who's going to listen to this independently, just to choose this one, is barriers don't last long in relation to your career.
Yeah.
That is one. I won't go into all the others, but that is one that really made me stop and think. And I thought, yeah, all the barriers that we've had throughout the years, and we have huge hurdles, and then they've become nothing. We've moved on, we've got round them, we got over them, whatever. So that was just that last one. I just think
you reflect, don't you? We've talked on this about this in previous summary discussions, that we reflect on it. We take away the good stuff and we throw away the stuff that's not of use for us. But it can take time to get there, can't it, when we're reflecting? So that was a really great interview. So moving on to Paul Jillins, who's the entrepreneur network marketer who's had a very varied career. He had a traditional IT consultancy that took him to many countries of the world, delivering his services, and meant that he could actually choose when he wanted to work and when he didn't want to work. Oh, how lovely to be able to do that.
What was it, 3 months a year?
Yes, and the rest of the time he just chilled and enjoyed his life, and it's a great job if you can get it, and we talked a lot with him about the switch from a more traditional type of business in terms of consultancy to being in network marketing, and all the stuff that we hear about network marketing. And he was enabled us to work through some of the myths and misconceptions and debunk some of that stuff that around network marketing. And what was really funny for me was when you said, I used to pyramid sell when I was younger,
Oh dear.
It's like, that was funny. But in those days, I could, going, back, pyramid selling has always been wrong. Let's get that right. But it was more known like that, hasn't it? In terms of that selling thing. And I've done some of the network marketing things, and as well over my time. So I think there's many of us out there that have tried that, and I've gone into the more traditional type of business model, and that works for me. Yeah. But it was interesting to see him talk about these things. And what inspires him, and the fact that he wouldn't necessarily go back into a more traditional type of business.
No.
I think his comment was, unless they paid him. If they paid him enough, you might consider it.
Well, there you go.
So that was good. But what was interesting for me was when Paul started talking about the things that he thinks he's not able to do as well, and the things that he thinks he's able to do really well. And that was quite an interesting discussion, wasn't it? About skills and strengths.
Because he didn't enjoy necessarily talking to groups or lots of people, but did it anyway, but did it successfully. But really, fundamentally, wanting to bring happiness to people. He enjoys that in conversation, no matter what it is, the subject, but obviously his profession. But he enjoys bringing happiness, and I think, well, if you've got that in a conversation, you're 2/3 of the way there. People will understand you. You've got enthusiasm. They know where you're coming from. So I thought that was really good.
He comes from a position of support, and so what he wants to do fundamentally is help the person that he's working with to achieve
the same,
and will support that person to achieve their goal through the vehicle of the marketing. And that, I know the network marketing is only one of the businesses that he's involved in, but that stance of support and help, as you say, is where he's coming from with this. And having met Paul and discussed it with him, I absolutely agree with that about him. That's what he likes to do.
What did he say there? Debris goes within good conversation. I thought that was quite a good throwaway line. I thought, yeah, that is so right. If you've got a good conversation going, like you and I do many times, you know, insignificant bits just disappear, don't they? So I think debris that goes in good conversation is a really good one to remember.
I do bounce a lot of things off Paul in terms of business-wise. Good. Because he doesn't like answer things for you. He asks you a lot of questions. It's almost like mentoring you without even realizing that's what he's doing. Right. Because that's his style. That's how he works. So again, another interview, guys, for you to check out. Really, the one with Paul Jillins, the entrepreneur and network marketeer, who loves to help and support and work with people. That was a great interview with Paul. And then finally we had Denise Raynor, who has since updated her website. She calls herself the entrepreneurial coach, but she's since updated her website and stuff now. But that's, at the time, that was an accurate message. So what do you think? What did you think of this one?
I love this one because we talked about very large animals and dissecting them as we went along, and not the elephant.
Not the elephant in the room,
but the elephant, the size of it, and just to take chunks of it.
Yeah, you've not heard that phrase before, have you? Have you? How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You know, that's... Yeah.
I thought that was so funny. I think I demonstrated that in the last video, because in my interview, our interview with her, I think I was quite amused by it all, and I was, seriously.
Yeah, I know you were.
Yeah, I thought, I loved it, by the way. I just thought it was very, very... But yeah, she's... strange enough, network marketing, Denise Raynor's into as well.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
A little bit of Paul, similarities to Paul.
She does more now, so because of her history. Her background is as a designer, so she was in the fashion industry for many years.
Yeah.
And if you remember rightly, she was headhunted to go and work with another firm, and unfortunately that didn't work out. And she then set up her own business from there. But because of her years of experience, and her dad was in business as well. He was in the automobile business for many years.
Right.
So she used to be in and around the business with her brother, you know, watching him do what he did, and he was very successful by all accounts. So she learned a lot about being in business and being an entrepreneur. So that's why she calls herself an entrepreneurial coach, because although she's doing the network marketing side of things, now she does spend a lot of time coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs in mainstream, is that the right term? Mainstream business, if you like. Or more traditional, through traditional business models, because she's done that. She was managing director within this, within the company that she was headhunted to go and work with in the fashion industry. So she's got a lot of experience there that she can share with other people. So yes. I
liked it also in her experiences with people, that she liked, specifically mentioned that she likes to help people and to find out what they really want to do and for the reasons why. So it's clear to them, you know, what their next move is, you know, when she's talking to them and trying to tease it out of them, which is obviously what you and I do as well. But I just found that very interesting, because people don't always know, do they, what they actually want. That's nothing wrong with that at all, but it's just really good to find someone who can maybe tease out of you, you know, something that you hadn't thought about. So you know, that was really good, and she's obviously learned a lot, as you say, and been successful in achieving her goals.
I mean, one of the things that I really liked about her interview was She talked about that you can do many things, but that they need to fit into the overall jigsaw.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's no point in having all these different spokes going all over the place, because that's just going to make you come across as disjointed and deliver in a disjointed way. What you need to do is find things that are not directly in the present business that you're in, but support that business. They're part of that overall jigsaw. So it doesn't take too much energy to deal with them and work with them and be successful with them. She talks about sometimes opportunities come dressed up as disasters.
She did. I've got a note of that as well down here, that yes, opportunities do, and that's a great way, you know, for whoever's listening to the interview, because I think people, where disasters happen, very few people think it could be an opportunity if they rethink it. They just go on to something else or move away or think, well, that's the end of that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm in debt or whatever it is. But instead of trying to turn it around or to look for something else within the cinders, if you like. So that was really good. Yeah, absolutely.
It is hard to see the positives sometimes when you're in the midst of some negativity. Can be quite difficult to see that. But actually, when you hear that statement, if you can look towards seeing it as an opportunity, that an opportunity might well fall out of that in the future, just to give you that little bit of hope.
Absolutely. And a good mentor as well helps enormously, which Dawn did mention, you know, about a good mentor. She which I think is always a good thing, but just for people to let you see how it is clearly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah.
Rethink. Yeah. Good stuff came out of those interviews, absolutely.
So, you know, in terms of questions that we really liked and questions that we least liked, this time around like the question on your greatest possession, because I think that yielded different things in terms of the Lifetime Achievements Award for Douglas. And then Denise talked about an item of jewellery that she got.
Oh yeah, jewellery box, wasn't it?
Yeah. And something that I think it was a watch or something that was given to her by a mom, I think, or something like that. That was, you know, very, very dear to her. So for me, that was a really nice question. And again, I think we asked it the first time to Douglas.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And then decided to ask it to Denise as well, but haven't asked it to many people since that.
It is a good thing, though, isn't it? Because many things mean many things to many people. We know that. But if there's always a little something, I'm sure you've got something in your life, and I have a little something that, you know, that means a lot. And every time I look at this little something, which is every day really, I always remember some part of the story, whether I remember it all or not. But it just takes you back through your life. And I think it's a good question. As is, going down the line, as do you have any regrets? Because regrets aren't a bad thing. You know, these conversations that you and I have are all about dispelling these myths. Regrets spells to people that, oh gosh, that was a terrible thing, I can't turn it around, and that's a big mistake in my life. When in actual fact, it wasn't. It was a learning curve, or it was something that happened for a reason. Quite often things do happen for a reason, rightly or wrongly. So regrets really aren't a bad thing. They are regrets at the end of the day, and you move on, but teaches you something.
That's about lessons learned, isn't it?
Lessons learned, always.
It's not about rights or wrongs, good or bad. You know, it's about lessons learned, you know.
Totally agree. And I think that's the message that you and I always like to get out. you know, not for people to feel downhearted because of it. Learn from it and you move with it and on from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a great set of interviews again.
Yeah.
We've already done the next lot and are on to the next lot of 5. So this is the end of the second summary video that we've done. As always, we'd be really delighted to read any comments that you've got about the content of the video or the feel of the video, whether you found what we've been discussing useful or not. We are going to do a video, another video later on, looking at the messages that we've got out of the interviews 6 to 10, and then rating ourselves against those messages in terms of how we think we are actually working towards them or incorporating those messages into our own lives. It's really, as I'm talking to myself, but then I keep looking across because Carol, you're over there, so I wanted to include you into the conversation really in this bit. So yeah, well, I'm looking forward to doing those interviews. Anything that you would like to add in before we?
No, pretty much that, and you know, obviously, but it's just getting, like I've just said, you know, about the regrets and the various questions that we've been asking. It's about, I'm looking forward as well to once we go through all the questions and answers and how we're rating them, just to get the right messages back over to people, you know, for people to not see failure, you know, as something that they've got to live with, you know, turn it around, look at another way, go down another pathway. My great thought in life is that there's 100 pathways. Okay, you might not take the right one, but you'll come back and start again and hopefully the next one, you know. So I always think there's heaps of opportunity, and not to feel that you've just come to a dead end because something's happened.
I think that we take the path at the time based on the information we have to hand at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
So we start down a journey, but that doesn't mean you can't get off that path and take another one.
Yeah.
And that's about your learning journey, isn't it? And how you look for opportunities and take up opportunities, reflect on what's going on in your life, and you know, use that information to continue to drive you forward.
Yeah.
So on that note, guys, I would like you to, as I say, please leave comments. We're always interested to read your comments, and thanks to everybody that has been leaving comments on YouTube for us. I really appreciate those. And if you like what we're doing, please, you know, tell us about it. And if you haven't done already, please subscribe to our channel. So we'll say goodbye until next time. Bye for now.
Absolutely. Bye-bye, everyone, and thanks very much for listening.